So market analysts and personal finance planners are singing the same tune. They now expect the Reserve Bank to consider cuts closer to the end of the year. That's instead of mid-year around July, which is where consumers which is what consumers have been anxious about. Business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo joins us now for more. Ntokozo, good morning. You're still doing some month-end shopping, I see.
Good morning, Iman. Well, I did my shopping over the weekend, but you are tempting me now because I'm seeing some items that I may have missed. But basically today we are in the streets of Joburg to really get a sense of where consumers are feeling that pressure points when it comes to the inflation, interest rates landscape that we do find ourselves in. And earlier in the morning I was out in Sandton at the Wealth Creed office to speak to financial planner Gugu Sidaki and just get those insights from a financial planning point of view of some of the pressures that consumers are facing. Let's take a listen to what she had to say there.
We've seen a steady rise in interest rates, and as you know, the point of a rise in interest rates is to curb or try to taper off the general rise in prices or inflation. But obviously that has some really nasty effects on the consumer, and that's what we've been seeing in the last couple of years. The consumer has really been squeezed, and we've really been struggling. The inflation numbers have remained stubbornly high. I mean, that's what we saw in January, and I think that's what the South African Reserve Bank is still trying to contain. I mean, our inflation rates at the moment are outside the bands that are comfortable comfortable to be managed by the SARB, which is between, I think, around 3.5% to around 6%. So we've definitely reached those levels in the last couple of months, I think, and this is why interest rates are going to remain where they are for the foreseeable future.
And Iman, it's not like consumers are not doing that work, cutting down all the fat in their budgets. Last year, towards the end of the year, we saw dining out ticking up, and that was largely on the back of load shedding. But at the start of the year, consumers rather sticking it in at home, working through that load shedding, and that's as we've seen, of course, grocery costs, those monthly grocery costs ticking up. So in January we saw dining out really on a decline, and I don't know if we have that graphic up yet, but when it comes to the products that we've seen really prices shoot up over the 12 months, it's products that you'd expect in any pantry across the country. Your potatoes, brown sugar, rice, showing sharp price increases over the last 12 months to February. And as Sidaki highlighted to us, that there is a parallel between food price inflation and healthcare inflation. Let's take a listen.
Catch-22, if you think about it. I mean, it's actually quite shocking how expensive healthy food is. And when you think of the average South African and the income that they earn, it becomes very difficult for them to live or lead a healthy lifestyle with the salaries or the incomes that they earn, which then leads us to healthcare costs, right? Healthcare inflation, I think, is expected, should be in the region of about CPI plus 3%, which is quite heavy. So that's above inflation rises in healthcare costs, and the average South African can't afford that. And as we quite rightly said, we're talking about health costs or health issues and the difficulty in eating well, living well when you're living below the breadline. So it really is tough.
And it's such a conundrum, Ntokozo, because in order to be healthy, you need to eat healthy, but if you can't afford it, that's a fate you're resigned to. It's a lot to mull over. So in the context of what you've just shared with us now, where to next?
Well, Iman, I'm sticking with the theme, and we've just heard there from the Statistician General, Risinga Maluleke, on the latest unemployment numbers. And adding that to the fray, Iman, concerns around food insecurity being real in South Africa are really mounting. The United Nations estimating that by 2025, 50% of the population could potentially face food insecurity. So I'm sticking in the Ferndale area, but heading out to the Aquaphonics Center. It's a program with the Desmond Tutu Foundation and Ministries of Fresh Ministries, and the aim of that program is to ensure or secure sustainable food sources and economic growth. And it's a Southern Africa program for South Africa, Eswatini, Lesotho and Madagascar. So we'll hear from them on just how that program works and makes food more affordable for more people. It's back to you for now, Iman.